This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
A very good morning, everybody, and jumbo to everyone, and welcome to our morning safari sunrise from the Masai Mara in the Mara Triangle. And what a way to open with the lioness in gorgeous light. She got a big belly, very well fed, and as always, my name is David, and with me today is Big James. Hello, James. How are you feeling, James? Fine. Very good. Remember, most important, we'll always request you to ask us as many questions as you can on Twitter, #SafariLive, and any nice comment you have, please send it across. Our lioness just walked behind us. We'll turn around and find out where she is going. She looks to have a big belly, and she is calling. I don't think she is alone. It could be a pride of them. She is calling. We don't know who she is calling. We're going to find out in this lovely morning of about 12 degrees Celsius and 54 degrees Fahrenheit. They're going to turn around and follow her and find out where she is going. All right, James. Ready, James? Okay. All righty. She's walking just by the roadside and not sure where exactly she wants to go, but I can hear her calling, and definitely she is not alone. And this is very good. She looks very well fed as far as I'm concerned. She got a big belly. I don't think she is pregnant. I'm just looking her on the road there. She is walking. James, tell me when to stop, James. Getting close to her. And I'll also be wanting to identify what pride she is from. All right, let's first go quickly to James.
Right, everybody, we've got Hosanna and three hyenas here. They've just stolen a kill from him, and they just chased him into that bush. Sorry, we're live. Yes, Hosanna. This is fantastic. We've just came across here, and what a way to start our drive. Good morning, everybody. It's been fairly frantic since about 2 minutes ago. We stopped, we found a tawny eagle sitting on a branch, and we thought something's going on here. We heard the crunching of bones, and we came across these hyenas here. They've stolen something fairly large from Hosanna. I'm not sure exactly what it was, and now they've just chased him. We found him lying on the ground watching them, and they've just chased him off. He gave them a bit of a rev, shouted at them, and then they ran off. Let's have a quick look at the hyenas. You can see they're covered in blood. I don't know where Hosanna is. And he's something in that thicket there. Oh, there he is. I can see him. Shame, poor little fellow. He's worked very hard to get this meal. I thought initially it was an impala. I'm now thinking maybe a bushbuck or a baby nyala. I'm not sure exactly. But these things have obviously caught it pretty quickly after he ate it. Yeah, you're right, Trish. Pretty quickly, if it's, after, yeah, as you say, if it's not his relative stealing from him, it's the hyenas. But I think they caught him with it fairly soon after he killed it, actually. Looks like they've had a really good feed. He's moving away now. Is he? No, he's just cleaning himself in the bush beyond there. Something else is going on here. You can see their tails are up. I'm going to stay where we are because I've got a vague idea where Hosanna is. I can just see his spots through the bushes, but I want to see how this plays out here. Just getting the rising of the sun this side. Beautiful light falling on, well, possibly not everyone's favorite animal, but they are pretty impressive. Ooh, let's just wait and see what happens here, and then we'll show you a replay, everybody, of what happened with Hosanna earlier. They're going after him now. Let's just wait a sec. Let's go and see what happens in there. I don't want to disturb the one hyena, but at the same time, I don't want to miss whatever happens between the leopard and the hyena. There's just quite a lot of bush in amongst here. We'll see if we can get a view of both. Well, here are the hyenas, they're still eating. Let's have a look at them. I'll try and spot the leopard. And then, Faith, should we go with that replay? 7 seconds long. Alright, let's go for it. Let's play it. You can have a look. I obviously won't be able to see it, so we'll just have to guess what happens. Alright. You can see the hyenas chasing Hosanna off, but what precipitated that, of course, was Hosanna actually chasing them. He revved these hyenas. He was lying very close to them. And you can see the crunching there. That's what I heard. I heard that crunching sound. Yeah, I think it's a young nyala that he's killed. Fairly blunt teeth. I'm sure some of you who are hyena experts will be able to tell exactly which hyenas of the Juma clan these guys are. Fascinating stuff here. Now, we don't often get to witness hyena interactions here anymore because we don't have a den. But very clearly the individual who's walked off with the carcass is dominant over these two. I wonder if that's not a female. I think these are two males, and I think that one at the other side there who walked off with the carcass is perhaps a female. This is a fresh kill, but it can't, you know what, it can't be that fresh because there's a tawny eagle here. How that tawny eagle managed to find what was going on, I'm really not sure. He's just sitting in the tree over there, and that's what made us stop and listen. Alright, let's go and see once you've had a look at the tawny eagle. Big eagle there. Here's the leopard. Right here. He's come back round. What a naughty fellow. I'm just trying to look at his belly. Yeah, I don't think he's eaten very much. You'll be watching this with fascination. Look at his beautiful colours now in this light. You'd be so irritated by this lot. This is unbelievable. Barb, yes, it is a lesson learned for the prince, but the prince knows these things already. Look at him sneaking up on the hyenas. He's seeing if there's just a little scrap for him there. The hyenas aren't sure that he's there. Let's just see what plays out here. We might have a little action broadcast if he approaches those hyenas closer. Now he can't, he's a little bit unsighted because there's a big bush between him and them. But he can hear the crunching of his meal. Now the hyena can smell him. They're lifting their tails, they're coming in, they're going to see what he's doing. He's now looking a little bit nervous. Alright, let's go for it, Faith. Faith is directing, by the way. Welcome everybody to a magnificent early morning dawn sighting here at Juma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands. We've got a male leopard and he's just had his kill stolen by 3 hyenas, but he's not ready to give up just yet. He's a young male, his name is Hosanna, he's about 2.5 years old, and he's sneaking up on 3 beastly pilfering hyenas who stole his kill from him. That is of course their right, that is what they do. quite often out here, but Hosanna, who is a very favourite male leopard of ours, is not quite yet ready to give up on his breakfast. An absolutely gorgeous light. Look, 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 they're coming round now. They've spotted him now. There, he's running off. He won't take any chances at all. They're going to chase him. All they want is for him to stay away from the meal they've stolen and to assert their dominance as the second most dominant predators out here. Yeah, this is really nature at its best. It's fantastic. It's also nature at its cruelest, I suppose, or one of its most cruel. Here's this leopard who's killed for himself, managed to find himself a decent meal. It's taken him a long time. He's tried and tried over the last few days. I'm just going to move around here, see if we can't get a better look. Kelly, no, hyenas don't eat leopards and leopards don't eat hyenas, but they do have horrible fights because all of the predators here see each other as competition, and because of that there is a general sort of attitude of dissatisfaction with each other, and of course those that are single, leopards and cheetahs, must sit at the bottom of the hierarchy. So although that leopard is probably individually stronger than these hyenas, as a collective the hyenas are much stronger, and they are prepared to take much greater risks because of the fact that they can still eat if they get injured, where of course this fellow can't. Gizmo, I missed that entirely, sorry. Let's have that question again. There goes the leopard now. No, Gizmo, the chances of this leopard getting his meal back are negligible to zero, I'd say, at this stage. He's trying. He's still trying. He's trying to see if they've left anything behind. He might be able to get the hyenas and the leopards now. Can you see them both? Yeah, there we go. So there you've got the leopard. And the leopard is now watching the most dominant hyena walking off with his hard-won carcass, the other two sort of drifting in behind the most dominant hyena. I think that's a female, very difficult to tell with hyenas, and two males behind her. And she will be dominant over them in this particular area. It's a little bit different in East Africa. But down here in Southern Africa, just about all females will outrank the males. Now we'll get some golden light on our leopard. What a fantastic interaction. We'll just get round the corner here. You will see some other vehicles here. We are, of course, in a fairly tourist-rich area. Poor little cat's lost his supper. There we go. Gorgeous picture of him there. Right, everyone, thanks for joining us for this little action broadcast here. Please do continue to watch us if you'd like to on YouTube. You go to #SafariLive on YouTube and you'll find the rest of our show. We are live from Southern Africa, 2 of us out here and 2 of us out in the Masai Mara. Alright, back here with our regular crew. How was that? That was very nice to see, wasn't it? Anyway, we'll keep looking for Hosanna. Tristan has managed to find the sunrise and some tracks of Thandi and Tlalamba.
Well, good luck, James. Hopefully you will find him. Unfortunately for poor Hosanna, once again he's had a carcass pilfered, and that must have been a very fresh carcass because we know he was at the pan until about 4 o'clock this morning. So he must have just killed it this morning and has kind of made his way then now down to that area and unfortunately lost it to hyenas, which is very naughty of the hyenas. But it is a good morning, and as James mentioned, my name's Tristan. On camera I've got Fergus this morning. There we go, the captain salute. And basically what's happening is that we are going to try and find 2 other participants in the dam cam parade last night, by the sounds of things. It sounds like it was just non-stop on the dam cam yesterday. So we're trying to find Thandi and Kalamba, and we found their tracks already. So just on the road in front of me over here, this area around there are some tracks of the 2 of them coming towards the pan. So that's where they were kind of going when they were trying to get towards the pan for water, I think. And then there's some tracks that look like they're coming back into this area as well. So I wonder if they don't have a kill in this drainage line, because the tracks come from the drainage line and they're going straight back there again as well. So I wonder if the 2 of them do. Also, it's very seldom that you'll see Thandi and Kalamba together drinking, unless they're going to a kill or they've got a kill and they went for water and are going back again. That's the only time you really see it. It's very seldom that she's out hunting with Kalamba present. So when they drink together, it's always a good sign. And like I say, given that we've got tracks going to the pan and then tracks coming back to the pan, is always a good thing. So we're going to follow these and just see where they go, and whether or not we get this right will be interesting, because they're going into the same place that I had Hosana yesterday, which is fairly interesting as well. So we'll just try and see what goes on here. The tracks look pretty good. Obviously it's winter, so generally tracks do look quite good when they are, when it's clean and fresh and no rain, and there hasn't been too much wind overnight, so it's made it a lot easier. But this whole road here is just tracks for the 2 of them going all over the place. Looks like they went down over the dam wall and then they came back up and walked here, and then it looks like they cut at the Jackalberry in front of me. They cut back into the drainage line. So I'm going to drop into the drainage line and just drive up it. I'm pretty sure that if they do have a kill, we're going to have a tough time finding it, unless Thandi has been so delightful to put it up into a nice tree out in the open. But otherwise it's going to be really not very easy at all. But I can still see the tracks coming along. It looks like they cut off right here towards this Jackalberry. I was hopeful that maybe, just maybe, there was a carcass in the Jackalberry itself, but it doesn't seem like that's the case. It looks like they've just walked along here and kind of come along past the Jackalberry and down into the drainage. So what I want to do is follow the drainage northwards and see, maybe I get lucky and I find the 2 of them. I just double checked when I came past, but there's no sign of anything up here, so I'm pretty sure that they've gone down this route. Now there's 2 ways that she could have gone. She could have gone either straight across the drainage and cut through into this block, which will be a nightmare if that's the case, or she could have gone left here and up this drainage, which at least gives us some semblance of hope as to being able to find her in this area. Bob, indeed, Thandi is probably one of the better moms that I've seen out here in the wilds. I mean, she has lost a few cubs, but in all her litters so far, she's had some success. So, even though she has lost some, it really isn't that bad. She's done quite well, and she's really sort of managed to keep cubs alive in even difficult situations. We know that she's had... Sorry. There's people talking very loud in my ear, and I'm not sure which one it is. There we go, I think I fixed it. But it's, she's just had this whole thing with Hukamuri being around, and that's never an easy one to deal with when you've got a intruding male, if you're a little female, or a female with a cub, a young cub. And so for her to have protected Kalamba and kept Kalamba safe through that period when Tingana was down a little bit, she's really testament to how good a mom she actually is. And it's fascinating me, though, her social interactions with Hosana are astounding. I have no idea why she's being so tolerant of Hosana with Kalamba in the same place. It really baffles me. I always thought that the 2 of them she might come to blows with Hosana if Kalamba was around, but it seems as though for some reason she doesn't mind him being in that area. Right. Now I'm going to just try and check this drainage line properly. I can't find any further tracks yet going north, so I just want to double check here, and while I do that, let's send you back across to James and, well, the little chief who has managed to charm everybody in the last few weeks.
Yes, here is the charming little chief walking past us now. He's still looking for his hyenas, his friends, his new friends, the hyenas. There he goes. He's very irritated. But, you know, he doesn't look particularly angry, but I'm sure he is irritated. I've never seen him charge an animal like he did there. And the hyenas, unfortunately for them, had no choice but to attack him forward. I'm not speaking English, am I? Look at his tail flicking. Look at his tail flicking. Juanita, yes. Oh, there, he's charging. He's charging in. Here they come. Here the hyenas chasing him back. He's gone running off there. He's disappeared now. He's very angry. I've never seen that before from him. Now, Juanita, yes, absolutely, the hyenas could have followed him. They will follow leopards from time to time. He's disappeared now towards the riverbed here. I don't think that he'll hang around there, though. I think that he is sufficiently brave and or stupid to have a go at them again. Here's a hyena next to us. And the leopard has disappeared into the riverbed. But now the tables turn slightly here because they're in a thicket, which means the leopard can sneak up on the hyenas, and what he will try and do still is see if he can't steal a piece of what's left here. Yes, Mama Bear, he is mad as a snake. Here are all three hyena. Now, I don't believe that this cat has given up yet. I think you'll find that he will be sneaking up on them. It's quite something for a young male like that to go at 3 hyena. Now they're weary. These hyenas are looking very weary. It's unlikely that he would push home an attack if they stood their ground. It's very unlikely. But now you see they're squittering amongst themselves, fighting amongst themselves. Everybody's now trying to debate whether Hosana is brave or stupid. I don't think he's stupid. I think that he is demonstrating the, what would we call it? It's not the exuberance of youth. It's the bulletproof feeling that you get when you're young. And I think that's what he's demonstrating here. I don't think he's demonstrating stupidity. He's perhaps showing a bit of testosterone-fueled... testosterone-fueled what? Testosterone-fueled courage, I suppose, but it's not the wisest. That crushing you can hear is a vehicle coming. It's not elephants making into the scene. There are elephants not too far away. You can hear them. Now, I do not know where the leopard is at this stage. You can see the hyenas there in the FLIR thermal camera. And Taxon's just coming up the other side. He might be able to get a look at Hosana. Hosana went bolting just to the other side of this thicket, which is on the banks of the riverbed. I think it's probably worth just waiting here, because if these hyenas become complacent, oh, that's quite interesting. Just listening to the radio. Fascinating stuff. Aubrey has just found wild dog tracks. He thinks that this was a wild dog kill. That makes sense. So wild dog kill, wild dogs possibly harassed by hyenas, brought the leopard in. Leopard is now trying to steal it from the hyenas. That's much more likely given how skinny Hosanna is looking. Well, not skinny, but he doesn't look like he's had a good feed. Okay, now Taxon's got Hosanna there. Just the other side of this termite mound. Now, I wonder if we shouldn't perhaps move. Let's move quickly now. See what plays out. I don't think he's going to get anything, but it would be great. If they get too close to a tree with a piece of this carcass left, he'll grab it and go up a tree. But right now in this thicket, I don't know. Like I say, the hyenas do have a slight disadvantage now that they're in the thicket, because he'll be able to pick them off. Well, not pick them off, but he's coming back towards us apparently. Apparently he's here somewhere. I'm just going to get hold of Tax. Sorry, Tax, go again. Okay, I've got him. Yep, now he's chasing him away again. There he is. He's coming now round the side. He's just over there. He's come round there. Copy, thanks. There's a whole lot going on in this thicket now. Let me just move a little bit closer. Song of Rain, I think it's pretty normal for a young male to be persistent like this. I don't think it always happens with all leopards. Certainly you wouldn't find Tundi doing this, not with the risks associated with her cub. But I don't think it's that unusual for a young male to be engaged like this with pilfering hyenas. He's got nothing else to do, you know, he's not got to mark his territory. He could go hunting again, but there's meat in the offing here. He knows he's faster than the hyenas. He knows he can get away if he has to. He knows he can climb a tree. And he'll take chances. He's much more likely to take chances than an adult leopard. I don't think you'd find Tingana doing this. Tingana at 12 years old knows that perhaps there are easier meals. But these hyenas are squabbling, so although they're a team, they're not a group that is going to do its best to look after each other, so they will fight over their food. All right, we're not going to go anywhere from here. Let's go across to Tristan, and please pass on my apologies for not seeing Tundi and Tlalamba's tracks earlier on.
Well, it's okay, James. It was dark. I don't expect us to see tracks in the dark. I mean, we all miss tracks in the dark, so it's no problem whatsoever. I just want to see what this is. This looks like a carcass in the tree here. So I wonder if Tundi is not just somewhere around. It looks very carcass-like. Is it a carcass? It looks carcassy. It does look carcassy. Alright, Tundi, where are you? This is where she should be, if this is her carcass. Or whose carcass this is, I'm not quite sure, but we drove here yesterday with Hosanna, and there definitely was not a carcass in this area, otherwise he would have sniffed it out. It doesn't look like a very fresh carcass, but there's definitely a carcass. Now, why is there no leopard here, or any animal to speak of? This is quite interesting. There's a lot of meat on there. So this is where I thought she was going to go. Her tracks come in this direction. Tundi and Tlalamba, where are you? I wonder if they haven't gone for water again. And that's maybe why we haven't found them. Or they're lying up on a thicket here somewhere so that I can't see them. But that's definitely an impala carcass. It doesn't look the freshest, does it, though? I don't know. Maybe it is fairly fresh. Let's have a look at the ribs if we can, Fergus. I just want to see what those look like. Are they quite red? I suppose it's not too bad, is it? It's fairly fresh. Alright, so this is the carcass for them. We knew that they had a carcass. It was just a matter of where they are right now. I would imagine one of them must be here somewhere. Or they're on their way back still. But either way, that's very good. So at least we know now where roughly to look around. I don't see any sign of them though, which is quite strange. Very odd to find a carcass with no leopard nearby. It's not often that that happens. All right, let's just do a loop around quickly. Let's see if maybe in some of these thickets she could be hidden. There's a little termite mound behind me, but I didn't see anything there. Chadwick, I'm hoping they'll arrive shortly. I'm a bit dumbfounded, to be honest. I mean, the tracks are coming back this direction. Maybe we just beat her to the tracks, and that's why James didn't actually see them, is that they came on top of his tracks. It's very possible, and I've just gotten here before her. I did a big leap of faith because I thought that maybe her kill would be on this side in one of these marula trees. It's why I wanted to come up here, is because you got quite a nice field of view. So I wanted to double check and see, and I think maybe, just maybe, we have gotten here before they've gotten back. So what we're going to do is we're just going to sit here and scope it out for a while. I'm just trying to see though, I mean, it doesn't look the freshest to me, and it looks as though it's been a bit bedraggled and been thrown around a bit. I wonder if maybe hyenas didn't try and get it or something at some point. And it's obviously a leopard that's taken it up. You can see on the marula tree all the claw marks going up and down and bits of bark that have been pulled off. So, I mean, there's only one animal that does this. And given that Thandi and Kalamba come from this area and look like they're coming back, I would imagine that it must be them. But very strange that they're not here already. I mean, they drank last night at around 9-ish, so it wasn't very late in the evening at all. And they should, theoretically, given that they walked off at that time, come all the way back to this point. But they haven't really, which is quite interesting. I'm just trying to smell whether it stinks, because, you know, sometimes leopards will abandon a carcass for some odd reason. They'll take them up into the tree and abandon them. But this one, I don't know. I mean, I honestly am not sure if this is a fresh carcass or not. It looks fresh enough, but one can never be too sure. I mean, the meat around it is not exactly dry. It looks all kind of quite pink still. Difficult to say. I mean, there's no leopard here that I can see, that's for sure. And if there was a leopard in this area, generally they would lie quite close. They wouldn't go too far away from it. So we'll just have to stake it out. I might just go and do a little snooping about on the game paths close by. Just try to work out which tracks are around and if Thandi and Kalamba's tracks do come this way. But I would imagine it must be their kill. It just indicates, you know, the movement that they did would indicate that they have stashed this carcass. What is quite evident on this carcass, which is quite nice to see, is that there's a lot of leaves and dirt on the carcass, and that goes to show that at some point she tried to cover it up, or whoever it was tried to cover it up by scraping sand all over it and trying to just hide that scent. And there's a few leaves and bits of dirt that's all attached to the red part of the meat. Now you see there lots of grass on that meat from where it was probably dragged as well, and lots of dirt from where she's probably scraped. It looks fairly fresh to me. I mean, it doesn't look too old. Bob, no, I don't think it was bad meat. I mean, leopards I've seen eat far worse than this. So I'm not sure. I really don't know why there wouldn't be a leopard here. At least we've got the carcass though, so we know where it is, and we can go and check around for her and see if she's not somewhere close by. Keep an eye out on the dam cam. You never know. Maybe she's gone for water once again and is gone to go and try and get a bit of a drink and will make an appearance back here at some point. Right, well, we'll sit here. Like I say, we're going to stake it out. I'm going to check some of the game paths quickly, just see if I can find some tracks. And so while I do that, let's send you back across to James and, well, a carcass that has disappeared between the hyenas and Hosana.
We've still got the hyenas here. We've got the big fat one in front of us. I think that's the female, definitely a female. She looks to be lactating even, and possibly was thinking about trying to get the kill back towards the den. She's now left the kill, and she's headed off. Hosana is still round the corner. There's the leopard, just slinking through the bushes over there. He's still coming towards this kill. Let's carry on down there. So he's left the two... She has left the two subdominant male hyena here. Ooh! Nancy, yes, he does have a chance of getting some back from the hyenas. We got him. He's in here. I think he's coming to the meat yard. Let's just wait here. But like I say, I think what he's going to have to do is grab it and run up into a tree. I think that this hyena can see or hear Hosanna moving through the bushes here. There's another hyena. You can just see some movement here. Hosanna is in here somewhere. Have you got him there? Senzo can see him. I mean, there's so little left for him to try and steal now. It's almost not worth it, but he could give them a charge, especially as there are only 2 of them left. It'd be nice to see him get something out of this, at least. So Michael Fleetwood asking me to follow the other hyena to see where the den is. I'm afraid, Michael, I'm going to stay here to see what plays out with Hosanna and these other 2 hyenas. But we can certainly take the direction that she's been walking. We have walked the area that she's going into extensively, Michael, and I suspect that the den is on Torchwood. In other words, it is on the property to the east of us. That's the direction she's heading. Many of you would very much like, including the rest of us, would like to have a hyena den on site again that we can go and visit often. But I just don't think there is one on Juma, I'm afraid. Chitty Chatty Meggie does tree his kills. He trees them very often. But we think he stole this possibly from some wild dogs. And so that's why he hasn't tried to put it up in a tree. I don't think he had a chance. I'm not even sure that he stole it. Could easily have been the hyenas that stole it. And he could easily have just been attracted by the noise. Have you got him there? So he's coming towards them, is he? Just slow, just see the odd movement of spots through there. It's such a dense thicket here. They're aware that they're being stalked, perhaps, but they're not afraid. They're going to eat as quickly as they can. No, wild dogs wouldn't have devoured this entirely if the hyenas had got there quickly enough. And if it's the same pack of 3 that's been wandering around here, 3 hyenas would have been too much for them. They'd have eaten a little bit and then moved off quite quickly. Let's just keep looking here. You got him there? Smelling something. Oh, you think the eye is missing? No, it's very glassy though, isn't it? No, I think that eye is fine. I think it's just quite a blue-eyed hyena, that. Tristan has managed to find his prize.
Indeed we have, and there you can see the beautiful queen just sitting and having a little talk, because she's trying to call her cub Tlalamba, which I haven't seen yet, and she's calling quite a bit, so I don't know where she is. Probably off doing something or other. But isn't that beautiful? Where is your little daughter? Now, I wonder where little Tlalamba is, because she's calling, but it's like a soft call. It's very, very difficult to actually even hear it. In fact, if you were 100 meters away, you wouldn't hear this at all, as from the human ear. So I don't know, she must be fairly close if she's talking like this. Difficult to see anything. I mean, it took us a while to actually spot her. She wasn't far from the carcass at all. Now she's just, listen, chuffing. Well, she's chuffing now, a little bit louder. Little Tlalamba, where are you? I always get a bit nervous when you see a female calling like this and you kind of see her looking around. I mean, the tracks indicated that she came here with Tlalamba, so, and we know we saw her last night, but it's always one of those things when you don't see any sign and you see a mom calling like this, you get always a little kind of, there's a part of you that starts to kind of get your heart racing a little bit. I'm sure she's around. I know that she often doesn't listen to mom at all, so I'm sure she's just probably somewhere in one of these little thickets. But at least our instincts paid off in that we knew there was a carcass somewhere, and tracking her down was worthwhile. What interests me is that this impala must have been from yesterday, and how Hassan has missed it as he's walked past and how we missed it, not really quite sure, to be honest. Interesting though. Now you can hear her still talking. You see her ears, they'll work quite hard while she does this. She'll try and listen after every call. Shame girl, where's your little one? Tlalamba does drive her absolutely mad, I know that, because she does a lot of this kind of thing where she just doesn't listen to Thandi at all and does her own thing. So I wonder what's going on. Interesting though, definitely looking around and trying to find her cub. I'm hoping that Tlalamba will just come bounding out of the bush fairly shortly. I'm just looking around at all the termite mounds just to see if maybe she's sitting there or in any of the trees that are around us in case there's some sort of sound coming back. So Wisteria, I mean, I don't know if concerned is the emotion I would attach to her right now. She's just looking around, trying to call and trying to see any sign of Tlalamba. Hopefully there's nothing has happened to her in the course of the night. I mean, what happens is you'll find Thandi gets quite frustrated after a while. She starts to get a bit annoyed by the fact that she can't hear her cub responding or see her cub, and then she'll try and kind of walk around and actually look. And it's why she's probably up when she's calling like this, is to try and make herself a bit more of a beacon that Tlalamba can come towards this area. But I mean, you know, it's close enough towards where the dam cam is that if there had been a major fight between her and a male or with Tlalamba, we would have possibly heard it by now, or we would have heard it from the dam cam. And she's lying down, so she's not too stressed. If Tlalamba was missing, you'd find her going up and down and walking. She's now staring off into the sunrise, so I wonder if maybe Tlalamba is now somewhere on that side that she can see. Interesting behavior though. She's settled down now. Seems as though she's not calling as much now and has just settled down a little bit. Just trying to hear if we've got any responses from Tlalamba at the moment. She's calling again. I mean, she's a mom that's, as well, much as she's calling, it's not, like I say, her posture and the way that she's lying right now, it's not like she's in overly stressed mode. I mean, she's alert and she's aware and she's talking. But, you know, she's lying down, kind of limbs off, out, as restful as you could imagine. I mean, she looks as comfortable as you can ever think from a leopard. She's kind of got 3 paws down, her tail wrapped over. So if she, for me, if she was really concerned, if something had happened, she would be pacing up and down, calling. I think it's more that Columba probably has gone off wandering to go and see what's going on, which does surprise me a little bit because of the fact we've got a carcass here. Don't know, Tundi won't leave her, so if Tlalamba doesn't respond in time, Tundi's going to try her very, very best to find her cub, and so she'll go all over the place, she'll sniff, she'll call, she'll do everything she can. They are on a kill here, so it theoretically should mean that Tlalamba will come and kind of appear at the kill itself. So I think that's why she's just sitting tight. Also, the calling, eventually Tlalamba will hear it and she'll come wandering over, but it depends what she's busy with. You never know. Maybe Tlalamba has caught something of her own, like a little Franklin, doesn't want to share, and so is sitting somewhere here eating it. We know, we've seen with Tundi many times before, calling and calling and calling, and Tlalamba just does her own thing, and where we can actually see Tlalamba ignoring her mom. So it's not something to be worried about just yet. And like I say, there are tracks for them, but both were seen last night, so it's no panic station at this stage. I think we too early to panic about anything. Probably find little Tlalamba's, who knows, maybe even got a leg of this impala that she's busy noshing on somewhere close by, and because mom is calling. I mean, you can see Tundi does not look too stressed now. I mean, she's calling, but she's not exactly running around, is she? She's kind of got herself well positioned for a bit of a rest. The calling also could be because we've arrived at the carcass, so she's just double checking, making sure that everything is okay, because when we sat here just now, we didn't hear Tundi calling at all. We only just spotted her up on the branch itself, and then came in this direction, and then she started calling. So it could be just us arriving. She just wants to double check where her little one is. But the grass is quite long in some places here, so she could easily be just sitting fairly close by. We wouldn't be able to see her unless she pokes her head up. But there she comes. There she is. She's coming. So yes, Tlalamba, you are going to go in time out because you're naughty. There you come. Hello, little one. I'm sure a lot of you are relieved to see that, because I know some of you were panicking that she might be missing, but there comes little Tlalamba with a little waggly tail. Yes, you are naughty because you don't listen to your mom. There she comes. See, she's also calling softly. It's difficult to hear because the wind is blowing, but she was also making little soft contact call. Come on, little one. You look like you've eaten the whole impala, because you've got a belly the size of, well, I can't even tell you. How cool is that? Come on, come jump on the log with mom. She's so big. I can't believe how big she's gotten compared to that tiny little fluff ball that we saw emerging from that cave the one day. She's really a lot larger. Look at Tundi now. Tundi's even got a little bit of a submissive kind of pose to her cub. She just kind of tilted her head down. This is so cool. There she comes. There she comes up the... Oh, look at that. Sorry, Mom. I know I should listen more, but I'm sorry. It was too much fun playing by myself. And I believe a lot of you are all hurraying and being very cheerful about the fact that we have our 2 beautiful females that we see on Djuma back together again, and on a beautiful branch in morning light. Is that not a seriously pretty scene to have? I think so. I think we're very fortunate to have the 2 of them lounging on that branch like that. Very cool. And like I say, look how big she's gotten. If you look at her in size of Tundi, I mean, she's not Tundi's size by any stretch, but she's gotten much, much larger. So Wisteria, I think you and probably a lot of us, including myself, cannot believe how much she's grown. Obviously leopards grow, and you've got to expect that they're going to become adults at some point, but she really is grown quite a bit, and she's become a beautiful little girl. And I think she's going to be, you know, a very, very similar to her mom in terms of size when she's an adult. But look at the 2 of them, tails going as well. They're both looking kind of southwards, and I think they can be glad that Hosanna has grabbed the attention of the hyenas rather than them. They haven't had to deal with anything. Oh, look at that. Thandi, are you happy now, girl? Isn't that sweet? The two of them kind of cuddled up together like that. And lots of head rubbing. So this is a typical bonding session that you'll see when there's been a slight separation. The two of them will bond like this, and they'll just kind of rub their heads together a little bit. Very, very sweet. Kalamba, I think you give your mother a heart attack when you don't respond like that. I know you give everybody else a speedy heartbeat. Right. Well, we're going to sit and enjoy these two. They're on a carcass, so they'll be here probably most of the day today. And, well, we're not going to go anyway because this is just fabulous with the two of them kind of grooming and bonding. And so while we sit with them, let's send you back up to the Masai Mara with Taylor McCurdy and see what she's up to.
Come to the Mara. Well, we're just waking up now. I'm just joking. There's a tawny eagle that's sunning itself in a tree. There's also a vulture. Hello, hooded vulture. What are you doing up there? I wonder what's going on here this morning. Hello, everybody. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today is Archie. And we are very excited to be out here on safari, as we are every single day. And because we've got a change of scenery. Look at what's down over there. How cool is this? Not very cool for that hippo, unfortunately. That's not a termite mound. I actually first thought it was a termite mound this morning. But then the fact that there were hyenas surrounding it and it moves occasionally indicated that it was probably a hippopotamus. Hello, vultures. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining the party. So very exciting stuff. I suspect that this is the South clan of hyena. And I'm not sure how many members are in here. I'll have to ask the wonderful ladies of the hyena researching team how many hyenas are here. But I've counted about 15 in total. But they keep coming and going, and more just, of course, keep arriving. So I can't really tell you what's happened to this hippopotamus because I wasn't here to witness this unfortunate, event. Whether the hippopotamus, as Archie said, was on its way back to the water, we're not sure. If it was on its way out of the water, we will never know. So I'm not really sure what's happened, but it's very exciting stuff anyways. And, one of the things is that because there's so many hippos out here in the Mara River, conflict is, inevitable. And it's going to happen. So my theory, we'll stick with it because, I don't know, unless anyone else can come up with another theory, is perhaps that's a big hippopotamus. Perhaps what has happened is that it was injured in the river and maybe it was making its way out. It had a little limp and then the hyenas kind of just finished it off. Or the other thing is that it was its time and it passed, just passed on, and then of course the hyenas have found it. But it doesn't look like they've eaten very much of it. Not that I can see on the side that they're feasting at the moment. It looks like they, of course, naturally hippos are massive creatures and they haven't got a very thick skin, but there's quite a tough sort of hide which can be quite difficult for them to get into. So they might have started eating towards the rear end or perhaps even the mouth, places that were already open and easy to get to start tearing into. That hyena, I think, has gone for a drink. Oh, there's a bit of a squabble going on.
Now, unfortunately, it sounds like there's a few gremlins that are on the Mara side. Now, we've got these two that are kind of just sitting up on the branch. Well, Thandi's come down now. I just quickly need to talk to the guys on the radio. I was busy just telling them about this. Yeah, AFM tech, so east of the drainage line, but quite far. If you come through on that 2-track, then give me a shout and I'll guide you from there. So, negative, the 2-track that runs from Gowrie cut line through the drainage line that then comes up and out onto the eastern bank. Right, so we've sorted that out, but we can see that Thandi's down and she's still talking. She's still making lots of noise at the moment. They're making quite a bit of this. Well, she is particularly. So I'm trying to, get out of the way, as well as try and adjust this radio. The radio really makes a serious amount of noise when these guys talk about wild dogs, because they'll shout, and I don't know why there's any need to shout when there's no view of them. Even just the tracks, everybody goes a bit crazy. Anyway, Tandy's fairly happy now that Tlalamba's back. She's just kind of glancing over her shoulder. Are you going to go and feed on the carcass now? Because that will be absolutely epic if we get one of them going up this tree, because that tree is in beautiful light and it should be really quite nice. Tandy hasn't eaten nearly as much as Tlalamba. Tlalamba's got this big fat little pot belly, whereas Tandy is still quite thin. So Mito's 9 years old. Mito, hello. Long time since I've heard from you. I hope that you're well. Tlalamba will probably leave Tandy. It depends on Tandy a lot of the time. I mean, Tandy, given her propensity to normally leave her cubs, is normally around a year old, Mito. So she, just over a year, so between about 14 months is when she leaves most of her cubs in the past. But I mean, she could keep it as much as 2 years. It just depends, I think, a lot on Tlalamba herself as well, because she's got her own little character and she seems fairly independent, and so maybe a year old will be about right. Now you can see she's calling Tlalamba. She's saying, come on, we're going to the carcass now. Stop hanging about on the fallen over tree. But Tlalamba is not interested at all. Right, I'm going to reposition quickly, because hopefully we're going to get her going up into the tree and we're going to get a really good view of her doing so. And we just want to try and see if I can get Ferg into a better position for that. It's obviously quite difficult because it's not exactly that open. I mean, it's open where Tandy is now, but I don't want to drive behind her and between her and Tlalamba, because that's one way to make Tandy get in a bad mood, and she's been delightful this morning so far, so we're not going to try and annoy her too much. We're going to try and kind of position, although she has, something's grabbed her attention to the south here. She's looking and listening and her tail is now twitching. What have you seen, girl? Or are you just waiting for your little one to come down? She's just waiting for Tlalamba to come. All right, well, while we wait for these two to head off towards the carcass, we're going to go position ourselves in a better place to watch them maybe ascend and feed. And while we do that, let's send you back across to James, who's got an animal that would be very disappointed if it arrived at this scene.
Yes, much less disappointed than it is having arrived here at what looks like to be a wild dog kill. Anyway, it's now seemingly complete, and Hosana has been sneaking through the bushes towards these hyenas, hoping for a last scrap, and I don't think he's going to get anything. Here he comes. I can see him moving. He's coming slowly closer. Just see spots moving in the bushes there. I think that's him. Can you see him there, Senzo? We can just see a few spots coming this way. He's tentatively making his way this way. But I'm afraid all he's going to find is a bit of blood on the grass. Can you see him there, Sims? Shall I move? Yeah. Let me move. We can't even see him with the clear thermal camera at the moment. He's just in here. Here he is. He's coming straight towards us now. There's a little bit left here. Beverly, they do mark territory, not like a cat though. Well, a little bit like a cat. I mean, they defecate on their territorial boundaries, but they also anal paste. They have a gland around the anal region which they scrape on grass. And that's fairly disgusting smelling. Oh, shame, boy. That's all that's left, I'm afraid. Shame. He's got a bit of fur to suck on. Poor little fellow. That really doesn't seem fair. Shame. there will be very little nutrition there. A bit of leather and some hair, neither of which are going to be particularly digestible to him. Poor little fellow. It is very, very unkind of fate to have dealt him what it has this afternoon, or this morning, sorry. I'm just hearing on the radio that the 2 dogs we think were responsible for this kill have just crossed back into Torchwood, which is the reserve to the east of us, of course. Yeah, not much to eat there. Yeah. He's taking the hair off there, which is pretty necessary, I'm afraid. Poor little chap. He was so excited for his meal, I'm sure, when he found it. Well, Robbie, yes, you can kind of see how hungry he is, but you must understand these cats always look hungry when they eat. They very seldom will eat with long teeth. But I think he is quite hungry. I don't think he's starving by any stretch, but he's certainly quite hungry. All right, let's go back to Thandi and Tlalamba, who's having a much more satisfying morning than this.
Well, they are having a beautiful morning, and the 2 of them have now ascended this marula. Now, I do apologize before we do anything else about an irritating click that is happening on this silly vehicle. I'm getting quite frustrated by it because there is this ticking sound and I can't figure out where it's coming from. It's not the windscreen wipers, it's not the indicator. So for some reason, this idiot car, and I don't want to call it an idiot, does not want to shut up and does not want to stop clicking, which is not only irritating me, but it's irritating Fergus as well as Thandi too. So I'm trying to turn it off, but I can't figure out what it is, and so it's just going to make an annoying click for the next little bit. It seems like it's slowing down, so hopefully that's the end of it fairly soon. Well, it's interesting, both these cats keep looking south all the time. I wonder if maybe Tingana didn't pick up on these contact calls and isn't wandering into this area. The 2 of them keep kind of looking in that direction, as though, you see, and they're even calling now. Listen, she's calling. Could there be a 3rd leopard that's in this area? No, I'm sorry about this ticking sound. It really is highly, highly irritating. Fergus, are you laughing at me?
I'm laughing with you, man.
You're laughing with me, Fergus. Don't laugh with me. This is about as irritating as one could ever imagine. Because, well, like I say, the noise just drives me up the wall. And honestly don't know what it is that's causing it. Don't know if it's one of the relays that's not working nicely, or I'm really not sure. So I'm going to have to try and figure it out at some point. It sounds like it might be a relay of some sort that maybe is making a bit of a noise. So I'm going to try and fiddle with them. I do apologize if you hear me fiddling, because it's better me fiddling, trying to get rid of the sound, than it is not to have the sound just playing in the background. Right, well, while I try and fix this, let's send you back across to James and Hosana, who's, well, doing what Thandi's about to do and start feeding.
Yes, I'm hoping that Thandi's going to get a bit of nutrition out of her meal than this chap's getting out of his, of course. He really is on the very last of the scraps. You can hear a very disconcerted Franklin calling next to him. Pussy! 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 Mournful call. So upset that there's a leopard so close. We're only sitting about 3 meters from him. And as usual, he's being completely confiding around us. He's eating leather, basically, now. No, not like us, Sarah, I don't think, because they don't generally eat things that are bad for them like we do. So they don't eat exotic bits of cuisine that would upset their tummies. I think that the bacteria that they do get into their stomachs, they're used to. They have them from birth. They're able to eat rotting meat very successfully without getting sick. I'm sure from time to time they have slightly more runny tummies than they do solid tummies. It's a bit graphic, but you know, I don't think they get stomach enteritis like we do nearly as frequently. And I think that goes for most of the diseases that animals out here get. You know, many of our diseases are diseases of community, of living in large concentrated groups, and of course of lifestyle. And these animals live as they evolved to live. And so they don't get nearly as ill. I've really parked actually in a fairly poor position, and I'll tell you why, because you really shouldn't be able to see our shadows like that. It's ruining the shot. Let me move slightly, Senzel, make things a bit better for all concerned. How's that? Much better. Sorry about that, everybody. It was very unprofessional of me. I do apologize profusely. I'm also going to beat Senzel for not beating him. You should have been slapping me on the back of the head for about 20 minutes now. Oh, thank you. There we go. He's done it. No, they wouldn't team up against the hyenas, Kendall. Leopards are not team players, really. I don't think they would team up against the hyena. I think they would try desperately, or Tingana certainly would mitigate any possible risk. That's what he does. Now, you see, now the cat is trying to lie in our shade because he doesn't want to be in the sun. Well, son, what is that? He's moved himself purposely into the shade that our vehicle is casting. Poor little fellow. One does feel such a tremendous affection for him, as we've known him from so little. Alrighty, let's try and reposition again. Well, Sana, you're going to have to find shade under a bush. We'll just do a little 180 here. How's that, Senzo? It's alright? You don't need to hit me on the back of the head? You can see our shadow, but it's not much shadow. Not on him, anyway. Car's just driven straight past him. Yeah, I've seen them throwing up Waukesha Pilot, but I'm not sure that it's that they're vomiting so much as coughing up hairballs. They definitely cough up hairballs. But I don't know that I've ever seen one vomiting like a house cat. My mother's house cat is a profound vomiter. And I'm not sure that I've ever seen a leopard produce something like that. I don't see why they wouldn't be able to. The only animals I know of that cannot vomit are hindgut fermenters like horses. Horses cannot vomit. It's why they get colic. As far as I'm aware, it is impossible for them to bring up. But I think everything else can bring up. And I think the reason that hindgut fermenters can't is that, you know, everything passes basically straight through the intestine from the stomach almost immediately and then gets stuck in the back, where it's much too far along the intestine for it to come out. That's disgusting. Whereas an animal like this has a stomach relatively similar to ours. So it goes the esophagus into a large stomach where acid-based digestion starts to take place, and so it's not too difficult to get from the stomach up the esophagus and out of the mouth, so they can vomit. Right, I think Tristan sorted his issues out, so let's go back across to him and Tanti.
Well, we are with little Tlalamba at the moment. Tandi's come down the tree and Tlalamba's now tucking in. If that belly could get any bigger, she's making sure that she tries. She's a bit like her older brother in the form of Hosanna, which I know sounds strange, but they are brothers because Tingana theoretically is is the father for both of them, so brother and sister, should I say. But she's tucking in. She's almost fallen out of the tree twice because she's been so exuberant in trying to feed. And you can see, though, when you look at her in comparison to the size of that carcass, there's still quite a bit of meat actually on there. They've eaten a lot, but there is still quite a bit, and she's still got a fair deal to go through. But they've definitely had this carcass for a good few days. We obviously somehow have just missed it. I don't know how we've ended up doing so and how Hosanna missed it yesterday. That's what baffles me, is because he walked very close to this area yesterday. We were not far from here at all, and maybe he was the one that actually killed it and was pushed off it. Who knows? You never know with this crazy family as to what's going on. But little Tlalamba's just moved it now where she can get a bit more grip to be able to feed. And isn't that amazing to see? How beautiful is the light on this little one as well. It is the most perfect scene. She really is a pretty girl. Don't drop it. There's still a lot there. So, Ramon, you're asking about mixed litters from different fathers. Well, it's possible for a leopard to have a mixed litter. So if they mate with two different males, it is possible that they can have different males fathering different cubs within the same litter. So you can find, let's say, Tingana and Hukamuri both mated with Tandi, then you might have one cub that's fathered by Tingana, let's say, and another cub that is fathered by Hukamuri, even though they're in the same litter. So genetically, that's the way it would work. But it's obviously not that common because there are females that do mate with multiple males. But in the case of Tandi, in this particular litter, we only know of her mating with Tingana. We didn't see her mate with any other males, and the timeline fitted perfectly for when she actually gave birth to little Tlalamba, so it couldn't really have been anyone else. So it means that Tingana was a fairly fertile gentleman, because Tandi didn't mate much. I think it was only once or twice, or 2 sessions that she mated with Tingana, and then she was already pregnant. So Tingana obviously did the job quite well. On the other hand, Hukamuri seems to be the opposite, in that he's been mating with Shadulu repeatedly over the last 6 months, and as yet we haven't seen any fruits of his labor. Now, I'm not sure where Tandi is. I actually didn't see where she went. I think she might be lying just behind the bush here. Otherwise, she might have walked off. But she was chuffing and calling as she came down the tree. And I wonder if maybe she can't see something we can't. Much like with Tlalamba a little bit earlier, there was maybe a view of another cat that she could see, and she was just talking to him. But isn't that cool? Absolutely beautiful. It doesn't get better than that. You can see actually where the lodge is in relation to where we are. It's why they went and drank at the pan. So basically, to the bottom right of where Tlalamba is sitting, over there, that is where the pan is. So that's where Juma Dam Cam is, and where the little pan where they drink. So you can see it's not far. We're quite close, and you would think this would be an easy carcass to see when you see the undulating terrain and that this is quite high up on a ridge. But unless you were very close, you would never have picked this up. And even when we drove past, I almost didn't stop for it because I thought it was just a piece of bark hanging down, because I've been caught by that a few times this week. And I thought, well, no, let's just double check. And as soon as we came around slightly and there was a little shine on the hoof, I knew that we had found a carcass instead of just a bit of bark, which was quite good. So there's just still a lot of meat here. Even though they have eaten a lot, there's definitely still enough for them to be here for quite a while. Now, I'm pretty sure Tandi is somewhere at the bottom of the tree. There's a little thicket that is just at the base, and so I think that's where she's sitting at the moment. I'm just waiting to see if she pops her head up. Tlalamba doesn't look too stressed by much. She's got her tail kind of curled up in the tree and is very, very pretty up there. Mountain lion? No, probably not. I mean, she's a fairly agile little cat, so I doubt that she would die if she fell out of the tree. I mean, she's climbed trees all her life, and that dangerous period where they're very poor at climbing is pretty much over for her these days. She's done this enough now to be able to know how to climb and how to get up and down. And also when they fall, often leopards will twist their bodies mid-air and to be able to then fall on their feet. And so generally when leopards fall out of trees, if they do, which is very seldom, they are able to actually balance themselves out, and they don't actually end up landing in a pile of on their backs or on their necks or anything like that. They generally land perfectly on their feet, which is very cool to see. It's an amazing thing that they're able to do. It's unlike us who, if we got pushed out of a tree or fell out of a tree, we could land very awkwardly and be in quite a lot of trouble. But these guys are able to twist midair and turn bodies until they're able to actually figure it out and land on their feet themselves. Now, Talamba, what are you doing? Her feet are precarious on the edge of that tree, aren't they? She's kind of slipping around. You can see why there's so much damage to the actual tree itself, is because of her probably messing around with this carcass for the last day, and she's been up and down all over the place, and that's why bark is missing all in every sort of branch at this junction, or particularly around that V where that carcass is sitting now. Very cool. Little Talamba, are you proud of yourself? She's still a strong little girl. If you think she's dragged that carcass down a little bit, she's still very, very strong for her age. Ravinda, no hyenas that we can see. I haven't seen a single hyena around here. It's an interesting carcass because it's definitely not last night's carcass, that's for sure. This is a day or 2 days, I would say, since she killed this, maybe even longer. And, they've really fed quite a bit and have consumed a lot, so there's no hyenas around, which is strange to me. I would have thought they would have tried to follow her, particularly because she went and drank at the pan. Often hyenas will do that. When a leopard goes and drinks at the pan, they'll then follow their tracks back and come kind of into an area like this and be able to actually then locate them on these kills. But it seems as though the hyenas were too busy messing around with Hosana last night that they forgot altogether that there was another leopard around. So none at this stage. Maybe during the course of today or this evening they might find these two, but for now they've got it actually perfect because they don't have anybody bothering them. And so not even the Duke and his incredible nose has been able to find this lot just yet, which I'm pretty sure will change. I'm pretty sure one of them, of the two, will actually find them at some stage. So whether it be the Duke or potentially hyenas, one of them will arrive here by this evening. But isn't that a beautiful picture? I think it's absolutely incredible. She could fit inside that carcass at this stage. It's a big meal for her. And I wonder if it was a male or a female. The head is missing, so I don't know if it was a male or a female impala. Judging by the size, it looks like an adult, so it could have been a female, but maybe it was stolen from somebody else or dogs or something like that, and that's why it's missing its head. Anyway, let's see how this goes. We'll stay here. Maybe Tundi will make an appearance again while we sit and watch little Talamba. Let's send you back across to James.
Somebody is having a little game with some grass at the moment. Senzo reckons maybe the hyenas lay there or went to the loo there or anal pasted or something there, and that's why Hosana is leaping about in that grass. It's possible. It's also possible he's just having a game. He likes to have a game, does our friend Hosana. His little pink nose. Shame, we got a little bit to eat today. He didn't get too much though. And he will probably try and hunt again at some stage fairly soon. A little clean. Apparently he tried a few times at the pan last night and was unsuccessful in his attempts to catch something. I do think they miss a lot, probably more than we know. In fact, it really does depend on what he kills. So, it's impossible to say at all how often any animal needs to eat. It really depends on what they kill. I mean, if he's eaten a tiny little piece of food now, so he's still hungry. I mean, if he a duiker walked past and it was easy to kill, he'd kill that immediately. If he then finished that whole duiker without being harassed, and if he was able to finish it himself, well, then he probably wouldn't eat for another 4 or 5 days. So it really is impossible to say how often he needs to eat. He is very sweet. Yes. Yes, Bob, I know what you mean. You really want a cat like him. You know they're out there. They are, but they tend to weigh close on 60 kilograms or even more. And, well, although they look cute at a distance, let me assure you they won't be very cute at all in your living room. You may have heard that sound there. That was Senzo removing his purple-socked foot back into the vehicle, either because he didn't want you to see it or because he thought Hosana might decide he wanted a piece of it. He's now rolling in the muck left by the hyenas. A little bit of blood left on the ground there. That carcass was carried quite a long way. Sorry, Romit, my earpiece is a bit of a disaster. Go again to that question, please, Faith. Oh, how long before he mates? This is a question we're asked at least 4 times a day because everyone is very interested in when he's going to have children of his own. Romit, I don't think that he will mate until he's about 4 or 5, probably more likely 5. But it does depend. In theory, he's physically capable of it probably from about now. And if the time comes that Tingana just disappears, you know, it's not impossible that Hosana will just set himself up here, in which case you could find him in the slightly awkward position of having to mate with Thandi and Tlalamba. So ideally we want Tingana to survive and we want this fellow to move off. I know that sounds dreadful, but we want him to go and sow his wild oats in a place where there are no leopards that are related to him. And that will probably only happen when he's big enough to take a territory of his own, and that will only be when he's about 4 or 5. He's a very busy cat, this, sometimes. He does sleep a lot, so do all cats, but he is very busy when he's awake. There we have him, wandering through the bushes. He may just lie down there, he may carry on hunting and foraging for the rest of the day, who knows. Let's carry on. Righty, we'll try and get another view, keep up with them. Let's go back to Tristan and Thandi.
Well, James, there's still no sign of Thandi. She's somewhere down at the bottom here. Tlalamba's the one that is up and is just watching one of the vehicles that has just arrived and not fed too much more since we've last saw her. She's been too busy moving the carcass around and trying to find herself a comfy spot in order to feed. I don't know why she didn't just wrap her legs around the branch and just kind of feed from the carcass as it was draped over the branch, but she's dragged it down to the V where it would have been comfortable for her to lie, and now she's trying to squeeze herself onto the same little stump to be able to actually sit and feed off this little carcass. So it's very cool to see her up in the tree itself. Is very, very, very pretty scene, isn't it? It's like the typical winter scene, isn't it? The kind of marula with no leaves, carcass in its leopard up at blue sky in the background. It's about as good as one could ever get. Now I think it looks like she's going to come down. Look at this. Oh, you very... No, girl, that's not a good idea. Oops. Evidently has got the same genes as her older brother Hosana. The two of them can be clowns when they want to be, but very, very cool to see the two interact. Now, Tundi must be down at the bottom there, the way that Tulumba's just gone down behind that bush. It looks like Tundi must be there, so I just want to reposition quickly. So Jared's buddy, a lot of it is instinctual. There will be some part that will be learned from watching Tundi go about her business, but most of it will be instinct that she needs to kind of just put her carcass up, and then she watches her mom do it time and time again, especially because of the amount of hyenas that we get in this part of the world, and that will then mean that between the two she'll get a good technique. And it's going to be interesting because you can sometimes see it. Some females don't tree their kills all that often, and we know Tundi is one of those, and then you'll see that the cubs don't do it very much, and then others who do tree their kills quite a lot, you'll find that it passes down onto their thing. So there is some learned behavior definitely in it, but any leopard you see, even young little ones, when they first make their first kills and kind of catch things like a francolin or a little mouse or something like a squirrel, their immediate reaction is to go straight up into a tree and try and put it up there, and so they know that that's where it's going to be its safest, is if it's up in the tree. Now there's the two of them together. So nice to spend time with these two. It's been so long that I've actually spent time with both of them together. Now sorry, I'm just adjusting my cap because I had knocked it a little bit just now, but it's so nice to see the two of them kind of interacting again and being together. They're a difficult duo to find at times, and so it's always very, very cool when we get a sighting like this where we know that they're going to be stationary for the next few days and they're going to actually spend some time in the area. You know, we've got a carcass, and I mean, there's not that much on it, but they'll definitely be here still, I think, tomorrow morning. So very cool to see. But you can see Tundi's just watching, making sure she's looking out and seeing what's going on. A bit of a breeze blowing, so she might also be sniffing, but the two of them have found a perfect little shady spot at the base of their tree, so it's about as good as anyone could ever ask for. Well, for them specifically, and they think they're quite comfortable in this particular spot. Tundi, thank you for coming to the dam cam, because otherwise it would have been very difficult to have found her. Luckily the tracks were quite a nice sort of way to work things out, and so what happened was the tracks actually came off Gari cut line past the big Jackalberry, and we went down and looked, and the tracks then cut over the drainage line, and so what we did is came on a two track around. And the reason why I didn't actually walk the tracks all the way is twofold. One is because, well, James and I have been quite busy this morning with lots and lots to talk about, and two, there is always a chance when you see leopards going to drink in twos like this that there is a carcass around. And to walk into Tundi and Tulumba on a carcass, Tulumba is not that great on foot. She doesn't really like too many sort of people walking around her, and often will just disappear when there's somebody on foot. And so, you know, I try and not walk her as much as possible, and if there's a carcass, it's actually quite easy to find with vehicles, because if you know the path that they're walking, you drive along it, and given that they went for water and both of them went, it's a good indication that that carcass was hoisted. So I know it sounds really strange, and you think that this is a lot of kind of probably guesswork in what we do, and while there's also certain things that we've experienced in time, and you use those little sort of nuances to be able to work out a story before you even find it. And so it was easier to drive a vehicle around and then just pick up the pathway that comes from where I thought they were going to come out, and then look around, and that's how we eventually found it. Kelly, no, probably not. If Tingana arrived, she'd growl and hiss at him, but there wouldn't be really a fight. We wouldn't see the two of them going at each other and actually really trying to kind of chase each other around. Tundi knows that Tingana is much bigger than she is, much more physical. The chance of her actually surviving in a fight with Tingana would be quite slim. She'd probably get herself into a lot of trouble and be quite sore by the end of it. And so she will, in all likelihood, try and stray away from fighting. She knows that she can kill herself another impala at some point, and so in all likelihood would rather go for that option and leave this carcass than to fight with a big male leopard and possibly risk injury that could then not only cost her life, but the life of Tulumba too. So better for her just to leave it, let it carry on and let it play out, and then she come back and kind of spend some time hunting somewhere else, or maybe wait for Tingana to drop or to bits of it, or to have his fill and then come down, and she can then be able to kind of go and get food from there. Now she's just walked right in front of the car. You can see there's the front of the car there that she's busy sniffing about, and going to lie right in front of them in the shade. Are you making friends, Tundi? they better be quite still, because otherwise she's going to be a grumpy cat if they move too much, given where she is sitting. Anyway, we'll try and catch up with one or the other and try and position ourselves a little bit better than where we are now. And in the meantime, let's send you back across to, well, one of the other royal family and see whether or not he's found himself a shady spot to rest.
Well, that is not royal family, that is scavenger of the sky. That is a tawny eagly, and it is one of the reasons that we found these cats to start with today. If it hadn't been for the tawny eagle that I saw, I wouldn't have stopped, turned off the car, and heard the crunching of the bones of the hyenas, which eventually led us to Hosanna. He is still beneath the tree in which the tawny eagle is sitting. The tawny eagle is going to be even more disappointed than Hosanna was by the lack of meat. All the meat devoured by the scavenging hyenas. Alrighty, let's move. And while I am rather envious that Tristan found Thandi and Tlalamba, not to cast any aspersions on Hosanna, they are in a very difficult area in comparison with this one. So we should be able to keep up with the young prince. Shouldn't be any problem at all. What an embarrassment of riches we have at Djuma today. Sharon, with caution is how we do it. We've had it before where leopards kill in or near camps, and you just have to be very careful. You have to wait till they're finished. You know, I'm sure Tristan could tell you 100 stories of Salayeshe who used to spend a lot of time in Simbambili camp, and you just got to be careful. You just got to make sure that your guests know what's going on, that they don't take any chances, that they walk with security guards when necessary, and if absolutely necessary, I suppose it might come to having to move the kill. But normally, you see, leopards don't like to be around people, and so let's say Hosanna killed a bushbuck in Vuyatela camp. It's most likely that he would drag it away from the rooms and put it somewhere where there wasn't a constant movement of human beings. But it does happen. And certainly, in fact, Thandi and Tamba, her cub before Tlalamba, often used to be around Chitwa camp. In fact, under one of the rooms. I think he was born under one of the rooms, actually, young Tamba. What's he got here? He might be stalking something. I think he's looking for scrub hares. That's what he's doing in there. If only he could find the scrub hare that we had yesterday evening. The world's most gormless scrub hare lay on the road in front of us for 4 or 5 minutes. Now, Miguel, he does go from impala. He's killed plenty of impala. In fact, he killed an impala, Miguel, when he was, I think, slightly less than a year old, which is unusual. So he's perfectly capable of killing impala, Miguel. He will kill whatever is easiest at the time. And impalas are a little bit difficult to kill because they come in such huge numbers, which means they're very wily and they're very good at seeing what's coming to get them. But also, he's not patient. He's an impatient hunter. And so there's a lot of luck required when he hunts something like impala. Whoops, daisies, sorry about that. I say it's an easier area than Tristan is. That's definitely true, but it's not the easiest. And of course, these leopards can disappear in seconds. He almost sometimes comes to find you when you can't find him anymore. He'll come back and sort of say, well, come on, I'm going this way. He's just in front of us there. I'm going to hit a wall of trees right now. You go through here. Going to be some crunching noises. Most of these are dead trees, of course, placed here by elephants. Ah, good. Well, Tristan has managed to get through his thicket. I'm going to pass through mine now.
Well, we have indeed, and we've got little Thandi, who's now found herself a bit of shade and is starting to get very sleepy. Is she not beautiful? She's by far my favorite female. I absolutely love spending time with her, and not only because she's a pretty cat, but there's just something about her. I suppose it's maybe because it's probably the most time I've spent with a female leopard is maybe with her more than any other female in my guiding career, and so I've thoroughly enjoyed spending time with her. And the fact that she's feisty and a lot of people don't like her because she's snarly and difficult is probably part of the reason why I do. There's something in the fact that she's a grumpy cat at times that thoroughly tickles me, because I just love watching people getting basically chewed out by Thandi for being inconsiderate to her general demeanor and mood. It's quite funny, and of course I've been in that boat, and sometimes it's impossible to know how far you can go into a personal space and where that personal space line is, but I just thoroughly enjoy the fact that she just takes no nonsense from anybody, even a hunking great vehicle that is massively bigger than what she is. She's got no scam or no shyness to just run in and actually just basically stomps and stand up to all of it. So I thoroughly enjoy how she is around, well, people and cars and even other cats. She doesn't take any nonsense really from Tingana. She doesn't let him bully her around too much, and well, we know with Hosana she's definitely laid down the law with him and said, you can stay, but you are going to stay under my rules, and well, that's perfectly fine by me. So thoroughly enjoy spending time with her. She's, like I say, got a bad rep amongst a lot of guides, and a lot of guides are scared of looking for her on foot and those kind of things, and it's not justified. I mean, she can be sometimes a little grumpy. Yes, we're talking about you, Thandi, but you know, for the most part, she's actually a very good female to view, and very relaxed for the most part. Good. We're going to carry on sitting with her as she probably sleeps the morning away. Hopefully Tlalamba will come back and cuddle. In the meantime, let's send you back across to Taylor McCurdy, who probably is on the banks of the Mara River scouting about and has hopefully had some luck this morning.
For the perfect spot to land. A couple of more vultures now arriving. Sorry for my disappearance earlier. The gremlins got me. I promise I haven't actually been moving. I've sat in the same spot, but you know, I don't understand technology very well. But very exciting stuff here with this hippo. Hyenas, of course, still gorging on it. And what else have we got? More hyenas. And Archie was saying, he actually made me chuckle. He says the hyenas here are very lucky because not only are they able to have lunch, but they can also go to the spa. You can see how the grass is quite green in that little depression there. There must be a bit of water. And of course, after an exceptionally big meal, what better way? Well, a hyena couldn't think of a better way than to lay in that muddy water and soak up the nice coolness. See? This one must have had a booking. Early morning full day Swedish massage, perhaps? Or Kenyan special? I don't know what speciality massages they do here in Kenya, but I'm sure they have one. He's looking, doesn't know which room to go into. No, I'm joking. Look at all those stalks. Now, Absichi, you're inquiring about, I suppose, how to become a guide or how to get a job like this. With a lot of luck? No. Sorry, I'm going to answer your question and then also comment on the marabou stalks. Well, part of the ugly five. We've got two of the ugly five here, the hyenas and then, of course, these guys. So it's actually fairly uncomplicated to become a guide. Anybody, in fact, can become a guide. The tricky part is find a job, as with anything, anybody that studies. So you don't have to go to university to become a guide. You can actually go to professional sort of guide training schools, essentially, where you are out in the wilderness most of the time and you're in the classroom, so you're learning the theory stuff. Sorry, vulture, that spot was preoccupied. And then you go out and you basically practice what you've learned. So you are going to hear lots of other cars, and obviously everyone's very excited about what's happening here this morning. And so once you've done that training, then the next step, of course, is to try and find work at a game reserve somewhere, I suppose. And unfortunately, if you're not a South African, so say you've done your training in South Africa, unless you've got a residency or you can get a company to get you a work permit, it can be exceptionally difficult to try and sort of get your foot in the front door to enter the industry. But if you've got all those things sorted, then it's quite easy. And so yeah, so then obviously to do what we do now is you need quite a bit of guiding experience, and you'll be able to talk, also tell lots of stories when the animals aren't doing what you'd like them to do. But luckily especially today, we're actually surrounded with lots of content, which is fantastic. So yeah, you know, I suppose hard work, perseverance, study lots, watch the animals. That is the best way to go about becoming a guide, and I suppose just having a passion for wildlife and being outdoors. But it is fantastic, if you ask me. It's a great job. What are you doing, hyena? You don't look like you've got a massive belly. Have you not been allowed to feed on that carcass? We've been seeing quite a bit of squabbling going on. A lot of hyenas have been getting chased away every now and then. Malika, I wish I knew who picked the Ugly Five. I have absolutely no idea. It's just something that was on the interweb. I suppose you could Google who created the Ugly Five. It's of course just not gimmick is the wrong word to use. Now I'm at a loss of words, but it's of course it's a nice little checklist other than the big five for people to look through. We have the small five, the big six birds. You know, there's lots of different things. So obviously to attract people. So I suppose it's a tourism thing to get people to come here on safari. Oh, look at the wildebeest. Kelly, now I'm going to have to try and remember who the Ugly Five are. So it's hyenas. Sorry, I'm just quickly counting in my head. The marabou storks. Is it wildebeest? No, it's not wildebeest. Warthogs. Leopard-faced vulture. Perhaps it is the wildebeest. Maybe the wildebeest is part of it, but I can't remember now, the fifth one. I have it written down somewhere, and I've spoken about this a million times, but I always completely forget. Let me go again. Warthog, hyena, I'm sure it's wildebeest, and marabou stork, and leopard-faced vulture. I'm almost certain that is the case. So actually we've got more. We haven't got a leopard-faced vulture just yet. That could either be a rupels or a white-backed vulture. Quite difficult to tell, with it down in the grass and quite far away. So we've got the hyena, we've got the wildebeest, we've got the vulture. Okay, let's just say vultures in general, because they're not exactly, I mean, beautiful creatures. We're just missing. We need a warthog to walk on past, which wouldn't be impossible. Although I find warthogs quite cute. Although I like hyenas as well. This is fantastic, though. Anyways, like I said, we're going to probably sit here for quite some time to see what else develops. If we go to James, who's on a Tuesday morning bumble.
Yes, a Tuesday morning bumble with Hosana, the male leopard, who has come back to where we found him originally today. He's back at the site of the original crime, where the bushbuck or nyala was killed, probably by wild dogs, then stolen by hyenas, and then Hosana tried to get in on the action. Are you going to climb onto the car? He looks like he's going to climb onto the car. He's not. He's not really going to climb onto the car. I was just saying to Senzors, we've been following him through the bush here. Had one or two lovely encounters where he's been pretty close to the car, and it's very special spending this kind of time around a cat like this. OF, for various reasons, we name the animals to give them character. So this chap's name is Hosana. He was named the little chief by the guides in this area. His mother's name was Karula. She was the queen of Djuma. Her name was Peaceful because she had a peaceful nature. And we name them, mainly to keep tabs on them, and also because they are our favorite characters out here. In some parts of the world, they don't name the leopards. They name them after the areas that they live in. So I suppose you would have called Karula the Djuma female. The Djuma 3-4 female was her spot pattern. It just helps us keep tabs on the cats. And in our case, in our particular case, well, it's quite nice to give them a characterized anthropomorphic name. Now, there is a little bit of debate over whether or not this is necessary. It's certainly not necessary. But whether or not it's perhaps in some way harmful to the animal by portraying it as a pet in some way, I don't believe that that's true at all. I mean, it'd be much... We see them so often. This is not the best position. Let me go around this little thicket. We see them so often that to refer to this as the male leopard we saw yesterday would just start to sound ridiculous. So it's much better to refer to him as Hosana, because we know who he is. We know exactly when he was born. We followed him since birth. And so although he's not tame and he's not a pet at all, he is an integral part of our story, of our leopard story here at Djuma. And he's also an animal that we have come to know and become very fond of. So that's why we name them. Also, there's no real reason not to. There we go. That's a lovely shot. Breezy Girl, it's most likely that Hosana will take a territory of his own when he's between 4 and 5 years old. So in about a year and a half's time, 18 months or so, he'll probably stop being quite as social as he is now. He's a very social kitty. He likes to be around other kitties. But that will presumably disappear with the onset of his adult hormones. I mean, he's got quite a few adult hormones coursing through his body now. But he certainly still likes to be, seemingly he enjoys being around other cats. Isn't he lovely? He's a rather gorgeous fellow. Got a short nose, short stubby nose, which is characteristic of his mother and of his sister Thandi. And it's very noticeable if you look at him compared with Shidulu, who's a female who's just come into the western side of our reserve. She's got a much longer nose. He's a magnificent looking fellow. I heard Tristan discussing yesterday whether or not he was going to get much taller. And I thought it was quite interesting that Tristan said he didn't think he was going to become much taller, but that he would remain relatively short and quite stocky. It's interesting. I don't know the answer to the question at all. Be interesting to see. Kenil, you say you'd love his necklace pattern. Yes, he's got a sort of double necklace, doesn't he? And you can see the amount that he's been walking around today. It is unbelievable how difficult it is to track these cats when you see how he's wound and woven his way around today. Alrighty, apparently his sister, the royal queen, is sitting in much the same position.
Well, she is not sitting anymore. She's standing up, and she was looking quite alert. She was kind of looking into the distance. I think it's because 2 vehicles joined us, and I think maybe part of her thought maybe another leopard was on its way and coming in this direction. So she was kind of perked up and looked. She's going to find herself a bit of shade. Shame, girl. Are you hot? It's getting hot now. It's actually quite warm this morning, so I'm sure shade is going to be quite welcome, and she's definitely going to be enjoying the fact that she can find a little shade close to her carcass. Tlalamba I haven't seen since she walked off. And she's obviously got an area where she's liking to sit and maybe away from the rest of the cars. She doesn't really want to be seen, which is fine. She gave us a nice little show when she was first out and about, and I think with a full belly like she's got, she's probably passed out somewhere in the distance over there, or kind of behind where Thandi's lying at the moment. But she definitely looks as though it's time for a nap, doesn't it? I suppose it's very late in the evening for Thandi. She's been busy all night and would probably want to sleep now. Carol, difficult to say. I mean, it's always, one of these things where the female comes into estrus. It depends a lot on when she's basically kicking out her baby. But we know with Thandi that she generally comes into estrus quite early on. So around a year old, when Tlalamba's about a year old. Obviously it could be a little bit later than that. It could be 14 months, 16 months, 18 months, but generally around, I would say, between a year and 16 months would be when we would expect her to start coming into estrus. So that would be in now, I would say maybe in 6 months time. So January, February, March, somewhere there, maybe even it could even go to April, May, June. But she's going to, in all likelihood, if Tlalamba keeps going and she raises her to adulthood, and depending on when she kind of leaves Tlalamba, she probably has only got one more litter left in her if she successfully raises that litter, because remember that it takes quite a while. I mean, a year and a half, 2 years, given that she is 12 years old. If she has 6 more months and then you get, you know, another 2 years on top of that, she's going to be an old female by the time she has that last litter. So I don't think she'll have more than the next litter after Tlalamba, if it's successful. Obviously, if that litter dies, then she might have another one. But if she has a successful litter in Tlalamba and a successful litter in her next one, that in all likelihood will be the rest, or be the remainder of her kind of lineage. But she's done really well. I know a lot of her offspring have been males, so Wabayiza and Bahuti and Tamba, and that meant a lot of them have distributed away from this area. And we know obviously Wabayiza was killed by the sticks, but they've kind of moved off and out. And so she's left a legacy though in Kuchava, and hopefully little Tlalamba will be the next kind of one that sticks around. So, you know, she's done really well. She's contributed to this area, and she's been a very successful female, and certainly has carried the baton for the Karula lineage very, very well. No, I haven't seen a leopard give a birth, and I highly doubt that anyone would actually see it. They, being shy, reclusive animals at the best of time, are certainly not going to want any presence when somebody gives birth, and I would not want to be anywhere near Tandi when she gives birth, because she would be highly aggressive at that point, and you wouldn't be anywhere near her. She wouldn't even allow you. She'll just lose you. She'll run. She'll go into thickets. She'll do whatever she can to shake you, to be able to then go and give birth in peace and under a bush or in a thicket somewhere. I saw it once with Shadow. Shadow was feeding off a carcass, and she was huge. And all of a sudden, it was weird. It was like she had gotten caught by surprise. Her eyes went wide, as though something had just gone wrong. And then she just bolted from this impala carcass, which was on the ground at the time, and she a big male impala carcass, and she had eaten, I don't even know, maybe 2 or 3 mouthfuls, and her eyes went super wide and her ears perked up, and she just ran towards a drainage line. And we tried to keep up with her, but it was absolutely impossible. And we all thought at the time maybe there was another cat around or something that she had gotten scared of and ran. And then, as it turned out, she ran into a certain section where she had denned before, and the next morning she was found and she had suckle marks and her stomach was much smaller. So, you know, they when they want to give birth, there's no ways you'll follow them. She lost us in about 2 minutes. She literally just sprinted into the nearest thicket and weaved her way through an impenetrable fortress of trees, and we had no chance to follow her there. It was only the next day when we kind of picked up the tracks and followed up, and eventually found her close to where she had kind of disappeared, and with those suckle marks, that we just left her alone immediately and let her do her thing. She is a beautiful girl. She's a very serious face all the time, but something about her with her little pink nose and beautiful kind of honey-coloured eyes that always enjoy just sitting and watching her. And even if it's just quiet moments where she's not doing much, it's thoroughly enjoyable. So what happens, Robert, is that generally with cubs and their mothers, there's no fight really. I mean, there's a little spat sometimes where they'll kind of get a bit aggressive, and it's normally the female starts to get aggressive with the cub over food. So the cub comes to eat, and the female just says, no, enough, I'm tired of feeding you, and kind of will chase the little cub away. Every time the cub comes close, it'll growl and hiss and just have a sort of quite a aggressive response. They won't actually come to blows, but it's this kind of, no, you may not follow me, hiss, growl, even a little bit of maybe a charge at that little cub, and as soon as the cub comes up for food, it'll get chased away by mom. And so that's how it kind of starts, and then eventually the cub gets the point and gets left for long periods, and mom doesn't return to where she left it. That cub realizes it's on its own and will then move around and try and kind of figure things out by itself. But it's tough for leopard cubs. I mean, they often have it hard to be able to get into adults. And if you think about the number of leopard cubs that have been born into the northern Sabi Sands and how many of those have actually survived over the last 10 years, it's a scary, scary statistic. In fact, I probably reckon it's about 20% of the cubs that have been born, maybe even less, have actually made it to adulthood. So it's not easy, and that period when they go from leaving their mom to setting a territory up is generally the hardest period. Tiani's done really well, but she had it quite easy in that her mom passed away at a fairly advanced age, where she was already about 2 years old, or just under 2 years old, when her mom passed away, and she inherited her mom's territory. And her mom, being such a big dominant female, had really carved out this beautiful territory for her. And at the same time, Karula had died, and that meant that there was the suck in of shadow towards Juma, which made Tiani's life a lot easier. Her only competition really at that stage was Shadulu, who was not that much older than her, and made life fairly easy for Tiani. So Shadulu did really well there. She managed to somehow get out and get through between all of those big females and carved a way for herself, and I suppose was aided in Shadow's disappearance too. But it's not easy. It's a tough period. Luckily for females, though, when they reach that sort of 2 years old, 2.5, most males see them as potential mating rights and are actually fairly chilled around them and don't chase them around too much. It's when they're still with their moms that a different male will be quite dangerous. You can see the wind is still blowing quite heavily at the moment, and it's going to be a blustery winter day once again. I suppose it is August, and the August winds do blow. Anyway, Cindy is slowly starting to close her eyes again, so while she does that, let's send you back across to James, and I wonder if Hosana is in a similar pose.
That's what's going on here, everybody. The cat is fast asleep. He's making me drowsy. I'm going to fall asleep fairly soon. The gentle sounds of the midday are starting to come through. The chin-spot batis, the southern black tit. In fact, Senzo, I don't know if you can see, but there's a southern black tit hopping about in the little tambuti tree over there. You see on the trunk, just flying about. You might be unsighted by a bush. See him, that would be great, because Hosana ain't going nowhere. He ain't doing nothing. There we go, little southern black tit leading a bird party here. Yeah, that's the one. And that is Faith's first time seeing the southern black tit. You get something very similar in East Africa, Faith. I've forgotten its name, naturally enough. In fact, I'll tell you exactly what it is. Just keep looking for the southern black tit. He's looking for the caterpillars. That's what I just seen him eat. I think we should let Kirsten stick to directing. You think she should start a new career on birds? Kirsten's saying maybe it's the eastern black tit. It isn't. It is the... Oh, I can't even find it. Maybe the red-throated. No, it's not that one. How cool is that, everybody? Did he grab the spider? Most impressive. Most impressive. Ah, the white-bellied tit. Looks very similar, except it's got a, everybody together, white belly. So, Faith, you would have seen one of those in the Mara camp. The iPhone 6. I'm joking. What I mean is you would have seen that bird. It has a white belly. Okay. That is the white-bellied tit. Let's spend one last session observing the magnificence of Hosana, the small prince, who isn't so small anymore, quite a stocky fellow. Oh, he's up. No, he's asleep. Now, if you were a leopard researcher or somebody shooting a non-live leopard film, you would now have to sit here for the rest of the day with this cat, and it would be a trial to stay awake because it's a gorgeously warm day and there's a nice breeze blowing, and this somnambulific, I don't think that's a word, soporific way in which the leopard is conducting himself is going to put anything in his ambit to sleep. There's also a white-browed scrub robin approaching him on the ground, but I don't think we're going to see that. He's behind. We might see him. Maybe. Not really supposed to move the camera around when the credits are rolling. There we are. Good job. Look at that beautiful bird. The white-browed scrub robin, my favourite call. You might even get a two-shot of them. Look at that. Fantastic. Little Hosanna quite likes them too, and now the bird is alarm calling at Hosanna. Alright everybody, that's it for this morning's safari. We will see you this afternoon. It's 1500 hours. Until then, stay safe and happy wherever you are. Thank you very much for your questions and comments. Goodbye.